So, what would you say is the difference between building a business that leads to overwhelming success versus overwhelming stress? These are two options, stress and success. What would you say? I'm going to share three with you here. But before I do, I want to just drive this point home that stress is okay in manageable amounts, but we really need to be building our businesses in a sustainable way. Having strong systems, having really rich relationships in life and business so that we enjoy the whole journey of everything that entails and don't end up inevitably crashing and burning. And if you think about it too, just creating things in a sustainable way, that allows you to show up long enough to be really consistent and to just stick with it and keep on building momentum and traction and all the flywheels and all the good things that it takes to land at success and to keep on growing that success. Okay, so I want to share those three things. The first one, open and honest. This is probably not one thing that you would expect me to start with, but here we are. It's fresh on mind because just yesterday I saw the loveliest video by Gino Wickman, who wrote the book Traction, and he talked about this concept. But here's how I landed at with it. Being open and honest is not just about being open and honest as a person. It's about being open to whatever you need to grow your business, open to change, to feedback, listening to mentors, coaches, colleagues, clients, wherever you can get really good feedback that makes sense, be open to that, right? But also, it's important to be open with each other about what's happening, to be honest about where you are and when you actually do need help. And to just show up in a way that feels really good in business and to not be hiding certain details because they don't feel pretty enough for you, but to just truly be willing to be open and honest. And so, funny enough, in the rest of this video, part of what I'm going to do is to be unusually open and honest about exactly where I am and why I'm choosing the day to day things, as I'm actually building as a founder right now. So, hopefully that'll be interesting, but just give me a moment. The second thing is, and also related, spend time wisely. If you're not tracking your time, this is so helpful because when you see it in black and white, you can look at your list and say, I spent 7 hours on that. Maybe I could have spent my time more wisely than commenting on school posts for 7 hours. Maybe I could have created assets like YouTube videos, like mini challenges, like workshops, like, something much bigger than just making comments, right? And so that feels really interesting, just how awkward it can be if you're new to tracking your time. I remember when I started tracking my time, how embarrassed I was at some of the choices I was making. And at the same time, I said, you know what? Like, this is not about being embarrassed. This is just about data. And so when I was able to move from like the judgy judger who's like, oh, you bad, the way you were spending your time to, feeling more like, okay, it's just data. Like this is good to understand. And now let me look at my time in a different way and show up in a different way. That made all the difference for me. Okay. So third, and finally, for the ones that I want to talk about, is full wheel success. So think about this. If you are close to a heart attack, if you're married, but your marriage is failing, and you're a parent, but you're not present with your kids, do you have success? If you have success in business, like, are you a successful person if you don't have full wheel success? I would argue that no. I would argue that the only true way to have success is to have full wheel success, where it's across life and business. You're taking care of yourself. You're taking care of your needs as a human being. You have beautiful relationships, a beautiful life, and the systems in your business and the assets in your business are being built in such a way that you have time for beautiful, rich relationships, that you have time to take care of yourself, that you have time to have a relationship spiritually. Whatever it is that's important to you, you have time for that. You make the time. All right. So that said, those are the things that I really do feel like are not talked about enough and that are kind of foundational to creating success for the long term. And so now what I'm going to do, because we are 31 days out from officially opening up Focused Founders, registering the LLC, having our first paid product, all the things, and I'm just really excited about that. So I'm doing the work, but I also, because I feel like it's important to grow your business without losing yourself. I don't know why I'm stuttering a little bit here. It's also important that I do that I do exactly that, that I get walks and sleep and quality time with my family and do all the things that I need to do in order to be a happy person who is fulfilled as a human being and as a business owner, right? Because I'm a whole human who's running this business. And so I'm going to walk you through exactly what I did and why, how much time I spent. This is not just a day, this is over 2 days because I don't have a video from yesterday. And, it's Tuesday. I just figure I want to include Monday in the mix. But so here we are. This is my part of showing you how I'm spending time wisely, how I'm showing up for full wheel success, but also being truly open and honest with you on this journey. And by the way, this is going to be the very first of some focused founders daily-ish diaries where I show up and I share exactly what's happening. I think this video will be longer than the others because it's the kickstart, but we'll see. All right, so the first thing, I did some business entity decision making. I thought this might be a little faster, but it took me a couple hours to really get to the meat of it and to decide, am I going to file in another state like Wyoming since I have a 100% online business? Or do I want to file in my home state of Massachusetts? Or, what's the deal? And so where I landed was LLC. It's going to be opened in exactly 31 days. So I'm going to file earlier, but set that as the date. I have a special reason for that date. Eventually, I'll share what the special reason is. And to just like let it be easy, I'll pay for a registered agent. I don't think it's necessary because of the simplicity for me to hire a lawyer for this. It's all really clear. It's just giving my office address where I'm going to store paperwork and, some basics. And I consulted with actually, I'm going to give her a little shout out. I consulted with my business bestie, Angie. She has a book called Start Like a CEO, which is lovely. And this is the pre-order version. I've got a real physical copy, but the book won't be fully published until September. But anyways, she talks about that in the book. We chatted about it. She's a sincere expert on this, and she's helped hundreds of business owners to get started in the right way. So I'm confident that after the conversation with her and the research that I've done, I don't need an attorney for this or an accountant or someone else to do that for me. So that was 2 hours. The second thing, calls. I hosted 3 co-working calls, and you might think that these 3 1-hour co-working calls would be 3 hours of time, but not really. It was about 40 minutes of time because I was doing work during that time. So the work counted separately. I'm not going to double dip here. So one of those was hosted for a client, for my client's group, and then 2 of them were inside of my own community, and they were actually just pop-up calls. It was just, hey, this time is good. Anyone want to show up for co-working? And luckily, we did get some co-working together. That was cool. 3, bookkeeping finalized. So essentially, I have 3 different spreadsheets now. It's a little bit much, but it's okay. So there's me as the sole proprietor, right? Because Focused Founders is a separate entity. So then we have Focused Founders, and then we have me as a human with family expenses and all of that. And so I have everything clear on the 3 spreadsheets now of what goes to what. And that just feels really good. And by this time next month, I expect to have a bookkeeper or assistant who's working with a system that I already have in place, or perhaps making one better to continue with that. But so this took me an hour and 15 minutes, and it was a lot of like scrolling and checking, but thankfully not that hard because I already had the spreadsheets. I already had the structure there. So it was just finishing. All right. 4, school. So with school, I'm sometimes on a lot, but this time, the last couple days, not so much. One thing I did was I watched school news on 2 times speed, so that was 13 minutes. And the 3 updates, by the way, great updates. It's good to know. One, they've upgraded the freemium experience. So if you have a free group that has paid upgrades, now there's an upgrade button that's really obvious and easy to click both on mobile and on desktop. Really like that. There's also a new feature where you can lock certain things if you have a free trial in your community. And the third thing is that you can close the doors at any time, but without having to do weird stuff like change the price to $100,000 to enter or make it free when it's really not. You can just say, you know what, we're closed to members for the moment. So I thought that was cool. I also spent about 20 minutes replying to comments and DMs. I know the time because I actually have a tracker for school. So Also, I will write a post today after I make this video to share the video and to chat through these things. And so I would estimate this to about 2.5 hours between yesterday and today on school. I think that's about a normal couple days. And yeah. 5, YouTube. Here we are. Yay. So I mapped out my plan, including travel, because I've decided to do these daily-ish YouTube diaries, but then I was thinking, well, I'm going to be traveling next week. Is that going to work? And this week too, actually. So my mom is coming to visit on Thursday. We'll be in Boston for a couple nights, and then we'll be on Cape Cod where we're going to pick up my daughter, and then we'll come back home to Martha's Vineyard where we're going to stay for 3 nights, and then we're going to New York City. And I was thinking, okay, we're traveling. Can I really do this while we're traveling? Doesn't make sense. And I worked through the details. I think it makes sense. So basically, over the next 31 days and maybe even beyond, I'll be sharing daily diaries about exactly what I'm doing, what's working well, what's not working well, etc. Okay, so it's like behind the scenes. This is cool. I got the new microphone in, which I'm excited about. I've actually had this microphone before, but I think my microphone is in Brazil. So I couldn't find this one. And so now I have it again. It was quick and easy to set it up because it was not the first time. And I made sure that the background is good with this. And it's funny because usually, oh, I have my school games trophy in the background, but it conflicted with the microphone. Where the trophy would go is where the mic is. And so I just said, you know what? I don't need to have the school games trophy here all the time. Let me set that down. So, yeah, and now I'm filming. So, yay. And I'm going to make the thumbnail intentional, but I'll be pretty quick with that. I'm probably going to use AI for it, unfortunately, just because it's quick and easy, and that's where we are today. 6, LinkedIn. So I'm going to post about this on LinkedIn afterwards, and I also estimate about 45 minutes total for that because I've also spent time replying to comments and DMs on there. Finally, 7, this is not setting up systems or anything like that. I did 2.5 hours of billable work for a client. And, that's not really a founder level thing to be getting paid by the hour. But the thing is, I love working with this client. I learn a lot. And I just feel like I'm getting paid to learn, but also paid to provide value. And so that's a really good combination. And I'm really happy to have that business relationship. And it's a good fit for me right now because it means that there's no pressure really having clients and having other sources of income. There's no pressure to make money the day that we open or before we even open or to have to hustle to make money. It's cool because I have this runway cash, and that's important. So that's what I did. This is total about 12 hours between yesterday and today of active time working. And, some people work less, some people work more. I think it feels good for the things that I got done, the structure, the YouTube, LinkedIn, like these are longer term assets to create, post, and to show up there. And it's also, relationships take time, connections compound, showing up regularly. This is good. The bookkeeping feels important. This all feels good. So, on a personal level, I walked 9,000 steps today. Oh, I can show you a picture. Over the course of 3 walks, one by myself, and that's the one I have a picture of. This is the picture. Hopefully you can see it. I got caught in the rain. One with my daughter, and then another one with my husband and daughter. So it was really quite wholesome to have 3 different walks with, landing at, I wanted to do the 10,000 steps, but when it started pouring down rain, I said, we're gonna 9,000 is good enough for today. So I also organized our dresser drawers with my daughter. We're getting prepared for my mom to come visit. So it just felt nice to have a little extra organizing done. We separated some things to go to the thrift store, and that felt really good. So nice little cleaning out and sharing. And we also ended up, because we were at the thrift store, we checked a couple things. I wanted to see if there were some good walking shoes in my mom's size to bring to her. And I did find some good ones. So those were $9, nice and thrifty, and a really lovely long dress that my daughter saw it and she said, Mama, this is so beautiful. And she she tried it on. 25 bucks for a dress at the thrift store is a little bit pricier than usual, but it's gorgeous. And we really like secondhand stuff or handmade or just really lovely intentional things. So I just felt special. We also bought a cookie. so so we went to a little bakery that was on the way home, and I said, "Lila, would you like a cookie?" And she said, "Yes." So, or I didn't say cookie. I said, "Would you like to stop and get a treat?" And then it was a cookie. And it was gluten-free and dairy-free and absolutely delicious, and we enjoyed it. It was good. And then I brought her to karate. Of course, we ate our meals together and had the other usual stuff. I spent time having a chat with my mom on video. I spent some time with my husband. And I did some like a CEO journaling from Angie, her methodology. So, all in all, I feel like this was an amazing day. A lot of good happened, and it feels super sustainable because I was honoring my family, myself, relationships, and, quality time with myself in the mix, with the journaling and walking. And I did the things that do feel like, what was the exact wording I used? Spend time wisely. And so this video is me being open, honest about the things, the way that I show up. I truly do hope to keep learning from mentors and friends and colleagues and, you know, others out there who know the things that I don't know, but I also really love sharing this journey. So I hope that you enjoy this, and I really wish you all the best of full wheel success and a business that feels more like success than like stress. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Bye.